So I've got a couple of books out, and I'm going to be talking about all three, mostly talking about predators. So if it's not about the predator, well, what is it about? It's really why, the where, and how are predators going after our kids and grandkids. And the situation is made worse by teen sexting. You talk to any teacher, school administrator, they know what's going on. I've talked to school boards in multiple places, and they talk about this issue. One of the cultural impacts on this is pornography and what's been happening in that realm. There's cultural influences that kind of make things worse, and let's face it, teens have always tried to get around parental controls, and I'm going to go over some examples about how they do that in the digital world. And of course, we want to know tips for parents. What do you as a parent need to know about? And to me, it's kind of all connected. You've got the internet is right in the middle of everything, and you've got kids, parents, culture, predators. They're all connected. So the first question everyone always wants to know is, why are they after the kids? So according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, a national nonprofit, they're either looking for explicit content, they want to attain money, something called sextortion, or they want to meet in order to engage in some kind of physical encounter. That's what they're after. So then where? Well, they're going to go to where the kids are. So a nonprofit called Defend Young Minds talks about how to work with your kids on pornography issues, and one of their articles talks about how they go to the games, the apps, the places where the kids are hanging out. That's where they're going. Instagram, some of the most social media, most popular applications, Snapchat, etc. Most of the extortion cases are coming from these types of apps. This is where the 15-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 20-year-old, that's where they're spending their time. Even, you may have seen the technology CEOs testifying in Congress about a month ago. And Snapchat talked about 690,000 reports to NCMEC, which is the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children. Well, that may sound like a lot until you hear what the CEO of Facebook and Instagram, all owned by this Meta corporation, 26 million reports. That's 100,000 per day that they were, reporting on, and that is just a huge number, and that's what every parent and grandparent is up against. But before we get to the how did we get here? How do we get to this place? So I wanted to talk about sexting because that is a big issue, and you might wonder, well, why are they sending pictures of themselves? What's influencing them to do that? And of course, what are the consequences? So how worried should you be? Well, in one word, very. Again, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, 42% of the youth are sending self-generated text, and they're just getting posted, sent around, and shared without any consent whatsoever. The typical scenario is somebody will say, I promise, send me something, I won't send it to anybody else, and of course that's not what happens at all. So, in a small town high school, I am involved with a group called Bringing Our Valley Hope. And this nonprofit, its mission is to educate and awareness in Chaffee County, Colorado, which is where I live, about 4 hours from here up in the mountains, talking about human trafficking, online predators, etc. So our goal is to bring education. So we went into the high school for a whole week and talked about digital safety, what are online predators doing, etc. And we took a survey. And 9th grade freshman class. And what did that survey say? 24% had over 300 friends. Now these are just 9th graders. By the time someone graduates high school, they may have thousands of friends. The stat out there is in a suburban popular high school girl has over 5,000 friends and followers. I guarantee you, if your child has 5,000 friends and followers, there's at least one predator in that group, and probably a lot more. They're also meeting a lot of people online. This is a small town high school, 32%. But it gets worse because 39%, they know somebody who's been blackmailed after sending pictures. This is the freshman class. If it can happen in a small town, it can happen in a medium-sized town, it can happen in the big city, etc. So again, how worried should you be? Well, it starts in middle school and gets worse in high school. So headline, 20 kids in a group chat of someone with an explicit picture. So what happened? Well, somebody sent a picture and promised not to send it anywhere, and the person sends it to over 20 people. So that's all kinds of problems. But one of the problems you may not have thought about is, what if your middle schooler, what if your 7th grader was one of the people on the 20 chat? They didn't ask for a picture. Now they have child pornography, or CSAM, which is child sexual abuse material. Now your child has those kinds of pictures on his or her phone. Now you've looked at it because they've come home and said, "Mom, look what happened." And all of a sudden you could see it getting very much out of control very quickly. The article went on to say that, why did this person send the picture in the first place? Peer pressure. So what's really going on here? So there's a company that does parental control software. They put out videos kind of explaining to parents what's going on. So they have a couple of clips here I want to show you that explain kind of what's going on with the teen mindset. And one of the things they talk about is the new first base. Let's take a look.
Have you heard the saying that sexting is the new first base for today's kids? It can strike fear into parents' hearts, but it's 100% a reality for young people growing up in the digital age.
So that was terrifying when I saw that. What are the signs? How would you know as a parent if something is going on?
Most parents say, not my thing, when it comes to the idea of them ever sexting. However, according to our data from 2021, 68.97% of tweens and 90.73% of teens encounter nudity or content of a sexual nature while online. If you're worried your child may be sexting, pay attention to these warning signs. They have a Vault app installed. They use their phone so that no one can ever see what they're doing. They hide certain apps from the home screen of their phone.
So Vault apps, what are those? Well, here's an example from Google. It's got 100 million downloads, and it tells you, we're going to help you hide your pictures and hide applications that you may have on your phone. The calculator app, this does real math. Your kid can use it to do their homework. But notice line 2 where it says hide photos, videos, and secrets. Anytime an application uses the word secret, your antenna should be going off big time, because that means that it's designed to keep it from a parent's knowledge. Because remember, a 15-year-old was born in 2009. A lot of us think that wasn't all that long ago. And so they've grown up in the digital world. This is what they know. They've lived it since day one.
Surrounded by technology. Because of this, everything that teens do when it comes to sexuality and dating is filtered through their phones. That means the pressure to send nudes or sex can be enormous. Regardless of whether a kid ever actually wants to send nudes, they're going to be judged or teased for their decision. This is incredibly stressful and unfair. Because they're young, kids don't always fully appreciate just how risky some behaviors are, especially when it seems like the whole world is doing something.
Snapchat, one of the most popular programs for teenagers. There's a story, and you can set it so it just disappears, and no problem, right?
One of the most popular sexting apps because sent photos disappear after opening. But not really. Screenshots can still be taken. Snapchat was even created for the sole purpose of sending news. Other apps have followed in Snapchat's footsteps with regards to disappearing messages. Instagram and WhatsApp both give users the ability to send vanishing photos and texts.
So again, it's kind of all connected, and TikTok is also part of that group, very popular with the kids these days. So how worried should you be about things like TikTok and Snapchat? Well, there's a couple of video clips from teenagers. Let's take a look.
And about 1 to 2 hours on social media a day? Actually, no, I'd say 2 to 3 hours.
My screen time's probably like 6 hours a day.
I probably spend like 4 to 5 hours on social media.
Yeah, more like 9 hours. And when they're spending their time, what are they seeing? So they asked the teenagers, how would you rate this social media application like you would rate a movie? Let's see what she has to say.
People will just say whatever because they know that it can just disappear. And people will sometimes ask for pictures or they'll send unwanted pictures or unsolicited, like, gross nudity pictures. So, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, talk about grooming platforms. I mean, right from the teenager, gross nudity pictures just show up. And it kind of feeds into pornography in society, in a hypersexualized society. So there's a pop star named Billie Eilish. I couldn't name a song if my life depended on it. She's about 21, 22 years old. Everyone under 25 probably knows who this is. Let's see what she had to say about pornography.
And I used to watch a lot of porn, to be honest. I started watching porn when I was like 11. I was an advocate. I, thought I was one of the guys and would talk about it and think it was really cool for not having a problem with it and not seeing why it was bad. And, I think it really destroyed my brain. And
it really destroyed my brain. I mean, this is somebody who grew up with this and is now, just a young adult. So, another headline, 3/4 of teenagers have seen some kind of pornography by the age of 17. Again, these social media apps that I've been talking about. Let's face it, big tech is not looking out for our children. There is no doubt about that. And the trend in these kinds of X-rated sites are more violent, more degrading, things like choking, and so it's just getting worse and worse. And that's what, New York Times, not exactly the most liberal newspaper out there, is even calling out these kinds of issues. LifeSite magazine, talks about this, how it physically alters the brain. You talk to therapists, counselors today, this is now one of the top issues that they're dealing with. And it's incredibly addictive and really deforms a relationship, that view. If you're 10 or 12 years old, you get this warped sense of what it means to be in an intimate relationship. Psychology Today, another magazine, talking about it being a public health crisis because that's where kids are getting their education from, these kinds of sites. So if somebody watches pornography at a young age, and that age is about 10 to 12 years old when you first try to see it, which is incredibly young. So imagine that, and now you're in middle school or high school, and somebody asks for a picture. Well, if you've been watching content, creating your own content doesn't seem bizarre. It seems really bizarre to us and the older crowd that's not a 15-year-old. But if you've been watching this on a regular basis at 10, when somebody asks a picture at 13, you don't seem to think that that's strange. So McAfee software, security, again, it's the norm, it's what's going on in society today. And it doesn't matter whether you're in New York City or Cheyenne or some little podunk town in the middle of nowhere. Because in the teens world, they get this false sense of security. They get peer pressure. And let's face it, a lot of parents aren't helping the situation. They're, oh, it's going to happen, don't worry about it, just be safe about it. I asked a teenager once, why is it being sent? And their answer was, well, people do it on a rush, on a dare type of thing. And we've got this, again, culture that's just, you know, the age of innocence, the age of childhood is shrinking. And that's, you know, and so they're just thrust into these types of situations, bombarded with these kinds of messages. 17 magazine, obviously towards the teenage type of age. What do they advise? Well, send your picture to a trusted friend, but we'll tell you how to do it safe. I'm telling you it's not possible. Parents are part of the problem. OnlyFans. A mom is advertising her explicit website on the back of her car in a Christian school pickup line. I can't make this stuff up. What message is it sending to her kids, let alone the rest of the students in that school? So, Mashable, a news site. You may not be able to read it, but on the bottom it says, oh, new to sexting? Here's a guide to keep it safe, sexy, and consensual. It's a great option if you're shy. Really? This is what the society is telling your kids. So how does the culture influence? Well, when you cancel God, bad things are going to happen. You know, today's society focuses on the individual and your own truth and figuring all that stuff out. Schools are encouraging experimentation and exploration. We see that in headlines, whether they be local, state, regional, national, etc. And of course, where's marriage? Well, marriage is being devalued by society as a whole. When that happens, these are the results that we're seeing. So how are they, what are some specific things that they're really doing out there? Well, here's a case of Roblox, which is kind of in that 6 to 10-year-old game. Pretty appropriate game from what parents tell me. However, every game, every app, every social media program has an ability to go into private messaging and chat rooms. So this guy used his real age profile as an adult, friended a child on Roblox, and then asked, what's your cell phone number? So now had direct access to this child and asked for videos and pictures. And if on this program, when your friend logs on to the app, you get a notification. Little Janie is now playing this game, but let's make it our secret. This is what their tactics are in these chat rooms. Grooming can happen in as little as 8 minutes. I've got a video from the Department of Justice that talks about how somebody had sent pictures in less than an hour of meeting somebody online. So your child could go to school and everything's great, and they get home and you're wondering why their behavior is changing. So parents really have to be aware, keep on top of these things, really be diligent. So I interviewed an officer, Gomez, out of the Boise metro area. He does a lot of parent training. He's a school resource officer up in that area. And so just 2 stories from him. Created a online program of a teenage boy in about 5 minutes. Really easy to do. So he friended all the popular kids. Most of them said, click, yep, I want lots of friends. I have more status if I have 1,000 friends versus 500 friends, etc. Most of them accepted that within the hour. Once you are friends with the popular kids on social media, every other kid wants to click yes, and it just takes a matter of seconds. He eventually got 500 students to be his friend. So he's doing a training class, digital safety, at the middle school. And he tells this to the kids. And the kids are like, what? What do you mean you're in our social network? And they were upset that they knew all the middle school gossip and drama. So what did he say? Delete me. See if you can figure it out. Well, they had thousands of people in their social media profile. Not one student could figure out who Officer Gomez was. If he can do it in a matter of minutes, imagine a motivated predator who's going to set up dozens of profiles. Different, so your kid likes soccer? Well, they're going to be approached by the fake profile of someone who says, I like soccer, I like Taylor Swift, I like blah, blah, blah. So then he decided, well, I need to do something more about this. So then he created an online profile of a 13-year-old girl. Immediately started getting random requests from strangers followed by private messaging. Within 15 minutes was asked for pictures. And then within 12 hours was asked to go on a date. Now he's a 13-year-old girl behind the keyboard. So he's typing in, well, how do I go on a date? It's winter. Do I ride my bike? I can't drive, etc. So this person on the other end of the screen knew exactly that he was talking to a 13-year-old girl. And so, but the person said, oh, well, I'll find a motel near where you live and we'll do a makeover and blah, blah, blah. And then got very explicit. So the way that you catch these criminals is the criminal is going to say, I want to do X, Y, and Z. They're very specific. Once they've done that, then they know that they're actually trying to exploit a minor. So Officer Gomez and team promptly arrest this guy at the motel. Now this was on a Friday night, about 5 o'clock. Now the criminal missed his dinner engagement. Why do I bring that up? True story. I'm not that creative to make this kind of stuff up. So he was arrested the night of his rehearsal dinner. He was getting married the next day, and it gets worse. So the lady he was going to marry had a child by a previous marriage. Guess how old the fiance's daughter was? 13 years old. I just can't make this stuff up. Unbelievable. So they found his laptop, phone, etc. He had sent over 100 requests to middle school girls. And he was seeking pictures so he could trade with dark web, child pornography type of websites. And unfortunately, he had sent all these requests out, 90% accepted, and several had sent pictures and had an encounter at the motel before Officer Gomez arrested this guy. One of the tactics that they'll use is to start grooming, especially younger kids, is, hey, I'll give you $10 for a picture of your feet. Totally legal. To ask a 7-year-old that, and for the 7-year-old to send it. Why are they going to spend $10 for a picture of someone's feet? They want to normalize that child into sending pictures. What do you think they're going to ask for when it's 20 bucks, when it's 50 bucks, when it's 100 bucks, etc.? One of the big red flags that your kid could be targeted by somebody if all of a sudden they've got a gift card to Amazon for whatever amount and you have no idea where that came from. That's a big red flag to start asking questions. So the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, they do educational videos. A great place to talk to your kids at various ages. They have different age group videos. We're going to watch a couple of them. So they talk about sextortion, which is where you're getting pictures and then immediately asking for money from somebody else to not send it somewhere else. And of course, as soon as you pay $200 to the criminal, they're going to ask for another $200 or more, or threaten to send those pictures out. And they absolutely do. I've talked to police officers where they have said, yep, the person said no, and boom, the next thing you know, everyone's got whatever picture that was out there. So let's see how it can start.
A typical sextortion case would be that a child was in a bar, in a game, and they just start chatting. It starts out like anybody else. You're just talking about the game or talking about whatever form they're in. It could be on anything. And that predator is a manipulator. They're very good at what they do. They know how to pick up on cues from that child. So if that child got in a fight with their mom, his or her mom, that predator is going to play mom's a jerk, your mom says.
So that's how it starts. It may start out very innocent enough. It goes into these chat rooms and private messaging. They're going to want to build trust. And sometimes that can take a very short amount of time. You may not trust somebody you just met for weeks or months. With today's teenagers, that could be minutes or hours. They're going to look for an opening. How do I build some rapport? And then they just start affirming whatever that unmet need of that child is. Whatever it is, they're going to zoom in on that. And of course, they're going to say things like, oh, your parents don't understand you. I understand you. They don't care about you. I care about you. You can see it happening when a teenager is mad at their parents or something like that. Someone else starts giving them all the affirmation that they need. And of course, they're just really master manipulators. So another video on how that can start.
So one of the scenarios we've seen when it comes to young girls is that it's going to be a teenage boy. They're going to look if the child's social media profile is open. They're going to try to profile who she likes, what her likes are, and what that would look like for her if she met somebody online. And then that's who they're going to become.
As a predator, you can actually create an online profile that matches the preferences of that child. So as that child interacting with that fake account, they're getting catfished. What they are experiencing is this super rousing stimuli where the catfish or the predator is telling them what they want to hear. They tell them about their favorite music, about their favorite food, about their favorite sports.
Oh, I think I hit the wrong button. Let's see if I can do that. Nope, I keep getting the laser. Sorry. There we go. Sorry. So they're going to use multiple fake profiles. You know, they're going to be whatever that person needs them to be. They're going to tell them what they want to hear. They're going to catfish, which is using a fake identity for some other nefarious purpose. And teen thinks, you know, they think today that it's all fun and games, it's flirty, it's no big deal, and they think it's a big joke until the day it isn't.
I've been doing this for a while. I wanted to do something.
So what's the takeaway? They want to do something special, but now they're getting coerced into more content. It could lead to meeting up in person. It can lead to human trafficking. It can lead to sending money. Now the teen is stuck in this situation. What are they going to do? And it spirals downward very quickly, as you can imagine. And as was shown in this video, this predator's got multiple targets. They're not just looking for one person to exploit, they're looking for lots of people. And it's only going to stop when a trusted adult is brought into this kind of situation. So you might be thinking, well, I've got sons, I have nothing to worry about, right? Not exactly. Let's take a look at this video about boys.
That we have had a child take off their clothes within an hour of meeting somebody online. Scenario B, boy use boy. This is important that we keep reiterating that boys said this happened to them. So sometimes with the boys, it could be that they think they're talking to a female, particularly like maybe an adult female. It's less like a teen type of situation and more with an adult. And then that adult will say to them, maybe like, I'll send you a photo of me naked, and he'll send me a photo of you naked. And so the boy sends the one image to who he thinks is a girl, and then he's expecting another one back. But what he gets instead is, now I'm going to share this with everybody. And then it can turn. If the child gets nervous or scared, then it turns into the threatening. Okay, well, you sent me that image of you. I'm going to send it to all of your friends on Facebook, all of your friends on Instagram, so you need to keep doing it. And then the child's scared, and they don't know that they can just stop. They're children, they're scared, they think that whatever this predator says is true. It can get really dark really quickly.
So these predators are counting on someone's embarrassment of not getting this out there, and that's exactly the hammer that they're using on these kids. So it can happen very quickly, within an hour. It's an older female, and hey, I sent you, now you got to show me. And as soon as that happened, boom, they get extorted. I've talked to more than one police officer who said that this whole scenario of contact, sending pictures, receiving pictures, extorting, less than 24 hours. It absolutely happens to boys all the time. And they will send those images, they just don't care. And they're counting on that embarrassment. Headline showing that this is kind of a newer trend, tricking teenage boys into sending pictures, and it's spiraling downward. Now, what else do predators love? A little pivot here of subject matter. Well, it isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger specifically, it's artificial intelligence. This is the new frontier for predators. What's going on here? So they're creating explicit images with artificial intelligence. Got a couple of videos, let's take a look.
Experts say artificial intelligence is being used legally to create images of fake children being sexually abused. Then those images are shared online. Yost fears it will inspire even more crimes against children.
Those are feeding the most perverse, twisted thoughts and desires and fantasies.
It's too easy. You can just go on and get the usage of artificial intelligence.
Sounding a warning about how artificial intelligence can amplify crimes where a person's likeness is used for degrading images and videos.
People can go in and download a picture of you and transpose your face, your likeness over an obscene image or an obscene thing.
So there's an interview with Canopy, which is another parental control software company. So this guy talks about the impact that we're starting to see with artificial intelligence.
One area that we're seeing is idea of editing, where someone can take what is otherwise a regular full-dress image of a teenager and edit it and turn it into a new image and then try to blackmail them.
So I don't know if you caught what he said, but essentially they're taking a regular old picture with somebody with their clothes on, and they're using AI to remove those clothes, show that person without clothes on, and then they're going to that person and say, I have a nude picture of you, you have to pay me money. And this person never even sent a picture like that. That's even more horrifying than somebody who made a mistake and sent a picture out. So artificial intelligence right now, doing that, totally legal, because you're not actually doing something to a real person. There's laws and legislatures meeting about this issue, but in most places, it's totally legal. And it's real and has real consequences. Let's take a look.
Just add and remember, what you're seeing is not real. everybody.
Pretty frightening. So they can take these pictures, convert them. They can essentially, what was photoshopping was kind of the old terminology there, adding images to content that's already out there, such as with a explicit video. And you can make a person look older or younger. So this started happening with celebrities, and now it's happening with everyday people. And they're using that for extortion purposes. And so kind of recap sextortion, it's different for boys versus girls. Girls are looking for content or to meet. Boys, primarily, they're looking for money. This is from Thorn.org, a national organization that does a lot of this kind of research. So are we getting the perfect storm of predators know where to look? Our kids are spending more time online. What happened during COVID? Kids went out of the classroom and did online learning everywhere. That means they're spending even more time online, and many of them not logging into their classroom, but just doing something else online. The more time they're on, the more time something can happen. Today's busy parents, busy lifestyles, etc. To me, it seems like we have the perfect storm. So you've talked to your kids. You guys are here. You're the good parents, right? And so the question is, did it get through? And so there was a social experiment done on YouTube. This guy created a new friend on Snapchat, one of the most popular programs, as a 15-year-old boy. So this guy named Kobe Person has 62 million views. And he wanted to see how easy it would be to get people to become his friend and to meet. So what's the setup? Well, he sets this fake profile up. Now he talked to the parents. He made sure that they had all the information. They were given permission to contact the child. They were given permission to record it. They showed the parents everything that was going on, and they knew that he was going to suggest a meetup in person. So he contacted 3 teenagers, 12, 13, and 14. The parents were very skeptical. I've talked to my kids. We've had these discussions. They're not going to fall for this bad experiment. Okay, well, guess what happened? All 3 of these friends accepted that Snapchat invitation all within 1 week. Now, some of their conversations were, well, I gotta wait to meet with you because my dad has to fall asleep and I can't have boys over. But I can go meet boys in the middle of the night. A little contradiction there. My parents are on a date night. I'm ready, come and pick me up. So my message here is, don't be fooled, because your child could be susceptible even if you've had these kinds of conversations. So what was the result when he suggested, hey, let's meet in person? Well, one met at a park in the middle of the day, and it's all on video, and you see the parents kind of hiding behind the jungle gym and confronting the daughter when they walk out to meet this supposed 15-year-old boy. Number 2, came to her house. That means, by definition, she provided her home address. And number 3, literally met in the white windowless van and got into his van with no questions, no qualms, no issues, nothing. Don't be fooled. You must have seen this video. Let's take a look at the parents' reaction.
16 years old, we've been talking online over text message and even had a phone conversation.
So right now we have the parents of Jenna. Jenna thinks her parents are going out tonight for date night. She thinks my brother is going to be driving, so she's going to get in the car. She doesn't actually know that it's all just me. So I'm going to text her right now. Did your parents leave yet? Yeah, 15 minutes ago. Do you think she's going to go through this?
I'm going to believe it's up.
What's your address? Is this your house?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. We're going to get her coming out. You don't think she's coming out? She's not coming out. Oh, she's going.
So notice, he asked, do you think she's going to go through it? And the parents are still saying, no way. I don't believe it's her. What were you thinking? And, it's like I can't show a more impactful video, I think, that just shows that the parents are shocked when their kid that they've talked to, they've had conversations, and yet they still make the wrong choice. So how do teens circumvent parental controls? Well, in the old days, if you wanted to be sneaky, you either had to be creative or you ask your friends. Now all you have to do is ask Siri, Alexa, YouTube, etc. So I suggest that all of you, after tonight, go to YouTube and type in, what do you do if you have strict parents? I'm going to show you what I found. 3 of them, right up there. The arrows you can't see, perhaps, says how to be sneaky with strict parents, the advanced version, which means the original version is somewhere else, also out there, with 974,000 views. These are teenagers telling other teenagers how to get away with stuff. And it just goes on and on, page after web page after web page, how to hide weed, etc. It just goes on and on. And this is what every parent is now up against, because their kid can just type something in with answers at the snap of a finger. So what's your plan? What do you need to do? Well, unfortunately, it's the awkward and difficult conversation about pornography, sexting, sextortion. But there are available resources. And as I mentioned, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, some of their educational videos, I'm going to show one of them here, and they're at different ages. So this one is kind of for a younger teenager. Let's take a look.
You probably get lots of messages every day, but what if you got one like this? What would you do? Would you send a picture? No? Cool. That's an easy way to protect yourself. But what if you've chosen differently? What if you send a picture? Then you never share it with anyone else, right? Do you want the picture shared with others? Sorry, you no longer have a choice. It's out of your hands now. Because sometimes people you trust break that trust. Maybe the person you sent the picture to shows it to some friends. Maybe they send it to a couple friends, who send it to a couple more friends, who, you get the idea. It spreads, and you never know who might see it. Your little brother, your mom, other people at school, even strangers can get a hold of your picture. You never
So, the other part of your plan is to explain your values. What are those biblical values about marriage and intimacy, things of that nature? What's appropriate, what's not appropriate? It's a great opportunity to bring that up and have that discussion with your kid. You know, they know that there can be embarrassment. They can be cyberbullied. You see stats where, you know, teen depression is on the rise, self-harm, etc. You know, and a lot of these promises that I'll never share it are rarely kept. And these are discussions that need to happen all the time. You can't have a discussion with them at 13 and think you're all done. You're probably going to have it on a regular and consistent basis. And so I'm suggesting you check the phone often. My opinion is minors do not have any right to privacy whatsoever. It's your phone, it's your plan, they're living in your house, they're a minor. Check their stuff, check their laptop, check their car, check their phone, check anything and everything. The old Reagan trust but verify is probably some sage advice here. The other thing is dumb phones. Dumb phones are really great, especially for the younger kids. They don't send pictures, they don't have internet access, they can't get strange texts from strange people. So if you need, hey, pick me up from soccer practice, okay, it's a very tight, lockdown kind of situation. Really good idea for that kind of age group. The other thing, limit time online. It's way too easy for anybody to waste time on the internet, surfing, looking at articles, and it's even more easy for a teenager to just scroll through Instagram, look at these pictures, what are my friends doing, etc. So limit that time online. So the book that has a lot of the content of today's talk is in this book. It's a little 53-page, $5 booklet, but it offers over 25 tips for parents. It also goes over many other ways that teens can circumvent parental controls. It also goes, what if your kid makes a mistake? Kind of refers back to some of these other websites. And I kind of go through the predator playbook. What is going on in that predator's mind? Dozens of grooming and warning signs that every parent should know. There's a bonus chapter in there, scams against the elderly. A little different from teenagers, but it goes over 7 of the most popular scams against older folks. Usually they're after money, and it goes over kind of some of those ways that they do that. Classic example is, I'm from the police and you have a warrant out for your arrest, but if you just pay the $200 fine, we're good. I love telling the story. My daughter, the police officer, got this call and she's on the phone with the guy. I'm the police. I'm the local police. You're not going to send anybody to my house to arrest me. And the guy, of course, didn't believe it, and they're going on and on and on. And the guy's from Timbuktu, and it wasn't some local person that she could go pick up. So even adults, young adults, are getting these kinds of phone calls, and they just pressure you. You got to pay now. You got to do. I'm from the IRS. Your Amazon account is locked, etc. So check out the back of the book for that kind of information. So a couple of red flags. Any kind of older, controlling person in that life, unexplained gifts. I kind of mentioned gift cards. Anything that you didn't buy as a parent, start asking some questions. Any kind of secrecy, online friends where you don't want to talk about who those people are, those are other kind of red flags. Also in the book, it's kind of these from verywellfamily.com. They talk about some of the best parental control software programs. I've mentioned a couple. Many of these are really pretty good. They all have different budgets, different functions, etc. And again, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, they have these NetSmart videos for you. So really good resource to kind of check things out on the different age groups. Because what is the great equalizer of our day? And it's Wi-Fi. If you're online, you could be sitting in this church in Cheyenne, But somebody from a foreign country, another state, or right next door could be targeting your kid. When I talked to Officer Gomez, he used the phrase, the predator is in your pocket, because that's where your phone is. You could be making dinner, and your kid is sitting at the kitchen table under your watchful eye, and the phone dings, and who's on that other side? So Wi-Fi is that great equalizer of our times. Teens today think having 5,000 friends is a goal. I'm here to tell you it's a problem. So you might ask, is social media safe? I could show you 100 more slides. The answer is no. Because your child may not be looking for trouble, but trouble is definitely looking for them. So great meme from the Babylon Bee, 2 parents with a small child. Should we give them a smartphone or just drop them off at the bad guy's house? I mean, I should just lead with this and say I'm done. Mic drop the whole thing, right? Because that predator's in your pocket. If you're online, they have access. The parents are not in control, and let's face it, especially today, kids are 2 or 3 steps ahead from a technological perspective compared to the parents. And a lot of kids are just trusting, unsuspecting. You know, they're not all sneaky looking for trouble. And of course, what about those kids that are not even supervised? Well, they're even more vulnerable to these kinds of things. So that kind of talks about that book. I wanted to quickly talk about my other 2 books. So I wrote a book, it's not about the badge, it's the human side of policing. It features 6 officers from small and rural towns. One of them, Jamie Murray, was a longtime police officer of the Cheyenne Police Department here. And so you can read about him and some of the things that he did as an officer and a detective with the Drug Task Force here in town. Because police have a unique job description compared to anybody else, compared to construction, office work, working in an oil field, doing insurance, etc. Because they put themselves in danger every day on purpose for not a lot of money to keep strangers safe. There's not a lot of job descriptions that have that on page 1. So I would ask them, tell me about a day on the job you'll never forget. So if you're looking for a story of the police officer who saves the New York City subway from the terrorist bombing, that's not it. This is, why was this ordinary day extraordinary for you, Mr. or Miss Police Officer? Why did it impact you? And they're not necessarily the ones with the biggest crime, arrest or something like that. It was really kind of getting the story behind the badge. Now I would go and I would ask these guys at the end of the interview easy questions to put in a plot line. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite movie? Where'd you meet your wife, etc. What'd you do if you won the lottery? And I was getting, hey, I'd go fishing at the lake, I'd go play golf every day, and one of them just stopped stone cold and said, I'd quit my job and hunt down human traffickers. And when he said that, I was like, whoa. 2 things came to mind. One, that was the subject of my next book. I knew it right then. And more importantly, I don't know anything about human trafficking. And me, average citizen out there, doesn't know that much, few headlines, few bad Hollywood movies. If I don't know anything, then most people don't know anything. So I wanted to research that and give different perspectives on human trafficking for that average person out there. And that kind of asks and answers the question that everyone has: how did somebody get trapped? And why can't they get out? And so I talked about 4 different people. I interviewed a survivor, a law enforcement officer on the federal task force, an advocate, somebody who started a nonprofit to help people in that situation and get out of that situation, and a brothel madam's tale of redemption. And so you get these 4 very unique, all story-based chapters. So I think it's a very unique book out there because it does give you these different perspectives, and it's all set in plot lines. So there's action, dialogue, emotions, etc., all going through this book. But what is human trafficking? Well, it's somebody who's compelled for labor or sex trafficking through force, fraud, or coercion. Now, many people may have seen The Sound of Freedom. Last summer, good movie, well done, took place in South America. But what's the rest of the story? Is that it happens here in this country, it happens here in Cheyenne, it happens in every state of the union, and it's hiding in plain sight, and it's under everyone's nose. And there's a lot of reasons why it happens in small towns like Cheyenne, major interstate routes, I-25, I-80. That's one of the reasons why Denver is a kind of a place that you see this issue happening all the time. So I wanted to show a quick video of what is human trafficking.
Born with the right to be free, but not everyone gets that opportunity. Introducing the global crime of contradictions, human trafficking. It's low in risk, but high in profit. It's hidden, but in plain sight. It's illegal, but often overlooked. Now, more than ever, millions of people are being exploited for their bodies and labor. But how is this happening? Well, what does every victim of human trafficking have in common? Vulnerability. Some are born into it, caught up in poverty, living as a minority, or dealing with the pressure to provide for their family. Others run into it, fleeing brokenness and abuse. And still, others are found in the middle of it, faced with conflict, natural disasters, or war zones. Victims of slavery are often just human beings who are searching for something better. A better job, a better relationship, a better education, a better life. This is where traffickers strike, turning human expectation into exploitation through force, fraud, or coercion.
So who is being exploited? It's absolutely happening at our border, which is in chaos at this moment. It's absolutely happening in big cities. I think most people inherently know that, but it's also happening to all races, all genders, all income levels, while people are still in high school. City, rural, it doesn't matter, it's happening everywhere. And that came out of the research that I did, and I wanted to tell stories specifically, not downtown LA, not on the border, but on small town America. They're all Colorado based, but I'm sure you're going to see a lot of similarities just a few miles south of here. So I wanted to talk about, when I went into this, what did I expect to happen and what did I find out after interviewing these 4 people? Well, the big thing is that kidnapping is only 3 to 5% in this country. Foreign countries, that's a different story. But here, it's really not, it's not the big number scenario. Border and big city, absolutely happens, but happens small town America as well. Now, I thought this would be kind of the first time somebody was traumatized in this situation. But the research has shown that most have had some kind of abuse of some capacity before that. That kind of made them vulnerable, made them targeted, and it's even worse because now they're being re-victimized, perhaps in a different way. And I thought, well, you know, Colorado, mountains, you know, like Wyoming, beautiful, everyone's happy-go-lucky going hiking. Well, when I talked to the law enforcement officer on the task force in the Denver metro area, he said that they worked on about 100 cases a year. But he also said that there's another 1,000 in the Denver metro that they're not working on at all. That means a lot of people are falling through the cracks. And unfortunately, the average entry age into this exploitive lifestyle is about 13 years old. And most of them are underage. And I thought, well, it was going to be all girls, but it's actually almost 50% boys. That, a lot of people find that very surprising, but this is based on national statistics. So how do they control their victims? Well, we talked about force, fraud, and coercion. Well, it could be physical. It could be through abuse and violence. Once they get them away from a family or any kind of, people who want to care about them, they're going to be very violent. That's very common, and it doesn't take that long to break down a 14-year-old. They may use branding tattoos, that kind of I own you type of thing. It's part of that psychological warfare, if you will. They're going to deprive them food, sleep, medical care, etc. Big one is make them dependent on drugs. If someone's on drugs, pretty much by definition, they're not going to make the best choices, and they're going to be more easily manipulated. Pretty logical, and unfortunately, this is exactly what these guys are doing because it works. They're also going to potentially have forced abortion or forced pregnancy. Well, why both? Well, because if your trafficker gets you pregnant and now you have a child, it's a lot harder to leave that trafficker. But they may also force abortion because they think they can make more money if you're not 15 with a large belly, etc. So you see that both ways. So fraud, they're going to lie, they're going to deceive them. There's a term called a Romeo pimp, which is essentially trying to be in a romantic relationship. I'll take care of you. We'll do all these great things. We'll run away from your bad parents, and we'll do all this, and we'll do that, and life will be great. They're going to tell them all these false promises. They're going to do blackmail. They may video what's going on. Again, we talked about sextortion. Many videos on pornography sites are through what's happening in a trafficking situation. They're going to isolate, try to gain control in that manner. And they're going to convince them they're not a victim. This is your new life. They're going to make them try to give up hope. Coercion as well. They're going to threaten to harm the family member. Law enforcement officer told me of a case where the trafficker had this girl's house key, put it on a chain, on his neck, twirled it around and said, I know where your little brother lives, and your little sister, and your parents, and I'm going to burn your house down unless you do exactly what I say. And that is absolutely right from the case files. That happens, unfortunately, all the time. They're going to try to psychologically manipulate them, and kind of, if they have crossed the border and they're illegal, oh, we're going to turn you into ICE. No one's going to help you. They're going to tell them the police won't help you because you're far from home, nobody cares, and you're stuck. And they convince them of that pretty easily. Labor trafficking is a little different scenario. As the name implies, they're really more forced to work on a farm, or work at a restaurant, or at a nail salon, or construction industry, things like that. Different profile, usually it's older, usually it's male. Sex trafficking, little different demographic there. And of course, they'll take away their ID, they'll take away their phones, things of that nature. That's how they're going to control them. So where do they find their prey? Well, we talked about kidnapping being 5%, but unfortunately, it happens most of the time through some kind of connection within a family, within neighbors, neighborhoods, online through social media in some of the ways that we've just talked about, as well as opportunistic. Somebody who's run away, they're going to be approached by a trafficker within 48 hours. If you're a teenage runaway, you're not staying at the best hotel in town with lots of cash. You're probably with very little possessions, not much of a means, and they're going to offer you food, and they're going to try to convince you that they're going to take care of you, and the next thing you know, you are trapped. And this is one of the ways that's going to happen. So who are these criminals? They can be street pimps, they can be gangs, they can be a boyfriend. That happens a lot in the Romeo pimp type of situation. So one of the storylines in the book, I wanted to do several different ones. This is one of them. It's a 15-year-old girl, lives in a just kind of normal middle-class suburban area. Met somebody through an Xbox. Oh, I didn't know the Xbox can connect to the internet. Everything connects, even your refrigerator connects to the internet these days. So they can find their victims through these gaming devices, and over several weeks kind of groomed into, hey, let's meet up. Oh, this is my friend. They're a real friend because I trust them. They're online. They said all these nice things to me. And the next thing you know, he's given her some drugs. Starts with a little booze, moves up, as you can imagine. Then they become independent or dependent on that drug. They're going to trade their body to get that next hit, get that next high, and then they're trafficked. This is a very common tactic, which is why I wanted to put it as one of the storylines in the book. The other thing about Tessa, she lives at home with two parents, still goes to high school. And most people find that shocking, but I've heard that from more than one source, and that's why to me it was an important story for this book, to kind of explain that it's not just the kid who's run away and is snatched off the streets. It can happen literally right under the parent's nose. And so we've got different pieces. We've got victims, we've got social services, the public, the criminal, the sex buyer. That's a subject that is not talked about enough. But I want to show a video from a survivor and let her tell a little bit of her story.
We met over social media. So he started talking to me for sex when I was 14 years old. It started just with a conversation of, hey, I can't pay this bill, or I can't do this thing, or buy this thing that you have wanted without your help. And so I'm going to have a friend, and you're going to have sex with this friend for me, and then we'll go do whatever it was that you wanted to go do. And what happened with one friend turned into 6 months. 6 months later, spending nights in a hotel room with guys just coming in and out. By the time I got to that point of being 14 and being in those hotel rooms, I had already been hurt so deeply that this genuinely felt normal.
Yeah, the last line is the saddest. This genuinely felt normal because the trafficker totally controlled this person, and so this was their life, day in and day out. So, how does a victim cope in this situation? Well, we'll let this person talk directly.
At about 15, I would get just belligerently drunk in order to go and do what I had to do that night, and wake up in the next morning and not have to remember what happened.
So, takeaway, this started with this boyfriend type of relationship, clearly an underage girl. Everything felt that had become the normal lifestyle and got intoxicated in order to cope with her situation. Now, in my opinion, and many others, the #1 cultural influence feeding human trafficking is pornography. So there's a website called Fight the New Drug, which some of these videos are coming from, and we're going to listen to some of the experts.
84% of people in prostitution are under third-party control in human trafficked. And the reason that's connected to porn is this. 49% of those people say, I was filmed without my consent while engaging in prostitution. The other piece is this, is that at the end of the day, what happens for many people who are just ensnared by sexual addiction and watching pornography is they come to a point where they want to act out these fantasies. That if they don't have a partner, there's no one there to act them out with. And even if they do have a partner, often their partner might be opposed to participating in something that's a fantasy that they discover in porn. And so that drives them to see people who are in prostitution. 84% of them are under third-party control.
So they're also talking about how it's the on-ramp to human trafficking. So I've got another expert to talk about that.
And they form some kind of a warped reality, a warped picture. Pornography is the on-ramp to sexual abuse and, in fact, human trafficking. It's how so many people get ensnared and trapped in something they didn't even know existed.
So, kind of summary of what those folks were saying. 84% under third-party control. The desire to act out something you've seen online that is now worse, more violent, more depraved than ever before. And it's the grooming mechanism to normalizing these kinds of relationships and viewing that's what intimacy really looks like, totally against a biblical value view of marriage and relationships, etc. And so Don Hawkins' National Center on Sexual Exploitation talks about abuse, trafficking, and pornography merging into one scenario, one crime by the same criminal. So the public, well, what can you do? So in my book about trafficking is a whole section about grooming, red flags, what you can do, things that everybody needs to know. So it gives you a little bit of some of the things that we've talked about, because you want to arm yourself with the knowledge and be part of that solution. And so I'm going to show a couple of them. So what are some of these common signs? Somebody who, you might see them at the rest stop. You might see them at a gas station. You might see them at the grocery store. And they might be fearful, anxious, look like they're, just something's off and they're getting controlled by somebody. They're going to avoid eye contact. They're not going to want to look at you. They might be sleep deprived. They look like they're in not great physical condition. They may have STDs, pregnancies. I've gone into like a pregnancy resource center and talked to the staff about what to do and what they want to be aware of. One of the things that we tell pregnancy centers is when they go into the bathroom to pee in a cup, you got 2 cups. One of them says, you need help, pee in this cup. And then that can kind of help get the ball rolling. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do to mitigate kind of what's going on. They may look like they're really hungry, and there may be signs of physical abuse, branding, tattoos, etc., and may need simple permission just to go to the bathroom. Can I do this? Because they've been so conditioned to be essentially in a slavery type of situation. And of course, drugs, alcohol, that's a very common denominator in this scenario. So what's that victim profile? They're not going to have a lot of possessions. They're not going to have money, phone, ID, etc. They may not even know what town they're in, because they may have started in Pueblo and now they're in Cheyenne. And so obviously if they're underage and they're not in school and it's a Tuesday afternoon, well, that's kind of a red flag too. They may not really even know what day of the week it is, etc., and don't really speak for themselves. Now, gang affiliation is another issue, and as I mentioned, kind of runaways before. So one of the things that everyone I've talked about is don't approach a criminal with somebody who looks like they might be a victim, because these are real criminals, violent criminals, etc. Call the national hotline. Your tip of information could be the 10th thing that finally helps law enforcement break a case. There could be other reasons. They could be in a domestic violence situation. They could just be, a simple, lots of drugs in their system, etc. There's lots of reasons, but if you see them by themselves, you can certainly ask, do you need help? Can I call somebody? Can I get you something? Things like that. Many of these victims will refuse. They have just been conditioned not to accept help from anybody. So that is a very common thing where somebody is a victim, someone asks them, maybe in a restroom or something like that, and yet they're too afraid to ask for help. So, kind of wrapping it up here. So I've got 3 books that I talked about at different price points. I do sell the bundle, $30 for all 3. I do take credit card, checks, cash, warm smile and a pat on the back. But that's about it for me. presenting, but I'm happy to take questions or have anyone make comments. So thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.